Yeah.
And don't worry, everyone's coming in. We usually start up at 02 anyway. I'm just starting at 59. You still love me?
Of course, Steve.
Okay.
Of course. You
All
know,
right.
as long as we didn't lose Grant and Mark, I'm happy, right?
Mark
Still
is
here.
and I'm waiting on Grant. Oh,
Grant's there.
I'm here.
Grant's here. Let me move Mark into a screen and Grant into the screen. There you go. Well, it's certainly filling up right now.
All right.
Okay. Mark Harris.
Hey,
how
what's up,
are
Steve?
you doing, brother?
I'm good. I'm very good.
You also look relaxed. You don't look as relaxed as Kevin Gadd, but I don't know if anyone's good right now.
Well, that's take a lot to be as relaxed as Kevin, but
It's good to be Kevin.
It is.
It is.
Oh,
I see Mike Sayer in the house. The IT leader is going to be starting up here in 10 days. Wow.
all right. We're filling up. This is good. Welcome, everyone.
Hey,
Welcome. All right. Here's the question. Is it going to be Gonzaga or Baylor tonight? That's the question.
I can't pick against the Zags now. There's no way.
after that buzzer beater, I'm not sure how anyone picks against the Zags.
I don't know if it's as much Gonzaga versus Baylor is the 9:20 tip-off. I'll be battling myself at that point in time.
Yeah.
But we can't find that within the next week or so.
Where would you put it?
I didn't put it anywhere.
Hey there, Shane. How are we doing?
Where was it? Underneath the thing, right?
And there we go. Sorry, Shane. All right, Mr. Ben.
All right. Well,
it is 04, and due to my tardiness, we're just bringing people in here. My apologies. It was really important.
all right, no worries. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to this is probably the 6th or 7th TechLife Unplugged session we have. Our goal here is to get some fun, interesting people in front of you, give you an insight to their companies and to them, and give you sort of the backstage pass to some of the coolest people we know in town. Today we've got some Mark Harris of Aware, CTO. And then we've got Grant. How do you pronounce? Is it Schneider or Schneider? Grant Schneider. I don't want to screw it up because I will. Grant Schneider is the VP of Machine Learning and the lead of the Columbus office for Aware. Okay, everyone, give applause, right? Everyone, yay! All right, let's get some interaction here, and please, for those of you who are hiding, show us your faces. It is no fun not to see your smiling faces. So please turn on your videos.
I know what Tim Shea looks like, and I'm glad he turned his camera on. There you go, Tim.
All right, please
Thanks,
turn us on. Don't.
And there's Mike Sayer.
Don't be shy. Come on. There you go. There you go. All right. So before we get on to the main conversation, I just want to share in the chat are some really interesting things that have happened in the last month in our local community. We've got Beam that raised 80 million about a month ago. They announced it. We've got ScriptDrop. Nick Potts raised another 5 million for his next startup. Andolin went from $100 million investment, $200 million investment to build their custom gene therapy manufacturing contract business, which is going to be a linchpin in the innovation district at Ohio State, which is wicked cool.
I've been talking to Andolin. They're building that facility right over there off Arthur Anderson. I tell you this much, I think that is going to blow up. That's a Nationwide Children's spinoff, if you guys didn't know that.
We've got Bill Caper, the ex VP of engineering at Root. He has moved over to Huckleberry, another insurtech startup, and they're building their HQ2 here in Columbus, Ohio. So that's wicked cool. And guess what? Uber picked ScriptDrop for its national delivery. So ScriptDrop's probably going to double in the next year or two, which is wicked cool. The Can't Stop Columbus crew created a vaccinateohio.org vaccine finder. So if you're looking for a vaccine, go to vaccinateoh.org, and they've got a full vaccine listing there, which is wicked cool. Red One just launched another 10 million pre-seed fund from Third Frontier Funds, which is great. And then last but not least, our friend MobiKit, Arnab Nandi, who did a spinoff for Ohio State around telematics and big data, got acquired in less than 2 years. So we got some wicked stuff happening across Columbus in the last 30 days. And I know, Grant, one of the big things is you all announced that you guys are going to double again in size, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is a good time to be in Columbus, Ohio.
Great. Isn't that where Reagan Avon's at?
No, she was there for a little bit, but then she moved on from there. So
okay, my bad. I probably went out to lunch and I missed like 10 pieces of news that have happened. So my bad.
Yeah, so it's a good time to be in Columbus, Ohio. Everyone in your chat, put in one word that describes how you're feeling right now. Come on, how are you feeling? Yeah. Tired. All right, Kevin. All right. Energized. All right, we got some good words. Superb. All right. Pumped. My first day back from
Oh, congratulations, Kevin.
You're back.
Second shot goes in on Saturday. Yes, indeedy.
All right. All right. Well, thank you all for participating. One of the great things about this session is we get to keep things pretty light, and we get to meet some of the smartest, funnest people here in town. So with that, let's talk to Grant. Hey, Grant. Hey, how are you doing today, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. You enjoy the nice weather this weekend and the holiday weekend?
Yeah, it was awesome. Kids out there hunting for eggs, and as strange as it sounds, being out in California, one of the things I missed most was that feeling of everything opening up and opening the windows and getting back to spring. And when it's nice all year round, like, people lose an appreciation for it. And this year feels extra, I don't know, energizing or liberating, given all the COVID stuff that seems to be turning a corner for the most part.
How long have you been back in Ohio?
It's been about 2 years. So we opened the doors in a co-working space, I think February of 2019. I've got a couple small kids, so we trailed behind and moved out here in the summer. So yeah, I was actually digging through my LinkedIn inbox because I think Ben was the first person to reach out when we announced the opening of HQ2. So before we jump into the questions, I just want to say thank you to Ben for before I had ever stepped into this role or even knew what it meant. He had reached out, said, "Hey, let's meet for coffee," and the guy works like 80 or 100-hour weeks or whatever it must be. So it was probably just another meeting to him. But I remember distinctly sitting there in a coffee shop as he listed all the people I needed to meet and all the things we needed to do. And it was eye-opening. It was like, oh, wow, I signed up for a lot. But really appreciate just like the outreach and the connections and just all the like hidden support specifically for me and Upstart, and not to mention the tech community in general, as evidenced by this event.
Grant, you know how he does it?
Does he have a twin?
Actually, there's 5. So Ben comes in 6 packs, and each of them put in about 30, 40 hours a week.
Okay. All right. Mystery solved.
There you go. The cloning does work. So Grant, when we first met, you had this great story that, you went to school at Ohio State, you grew up in the Midwest, but then you found this company in California. And you said, "I'm going to work for that company." And tell us a little bit about that, because I found that really fascinating.
Yeah. So So yeah, I went to Ohio State. I was about to finish up in the business school, and I had, what at the time seemed like the misfortune of graduating during the Great Recession and not being able to find a job in finance. Only out of necessity, kind of found my way back to statistics, math, computer science, things like that. One thing led to another, and I ended up getting a PhD in statistics, just because, I liked it, and then it grew on me. And then next thing I knew, I had been at Ohio State for 10 years. They finally told me I needed to leave. I couldn't stay and get any more school. So my wife, who I met in grad school, she and I were looking for jobs in the same city. And we were, okay, we'll go wherever in the country we can find things. Had mostly settled on going to Washington, D.C. She found a job she liked. I found one that was going to pay the bills and would pay the bills until I found something better. I read about this company, Upstart, and some of the innovative stuff they were doing around kind of disrupting the traditional credit score and taking a more forward-thinking approach. Said, okay, I'm going to send them a cold email. I think at the time, like either Paul, my boss, our co-founder and head of product, or our former head of growth, they were handling all the recruiting. We didn't have a recruiting team or anything. And so luckily they saw that email, responded. I flew out there, was blown away by the team. Came back, like my wife could see the excitement in my face or hear it in my voice. Said, okay, we got to drop everything and we're packing up the car, going out to California, and we're going to figure it out. So luckily she found a job once we got there, but it was very much the irresponsible, like let's take the risk and see what happens. And luckily it worked out well. Yeah.
That's phenomenal. So that was then, how long ago was that, Grant?
That was 2014. So when I joined, it was about 20 of us in a room beneath a dentist office. So I've got all kinds of stories about fighting for parking with dental office customers in the early days. So 2014 to 2019 was out there in the Bay. Loved it. Great place to start a career. Started, having kids, wanting to buy a house and all the stuff that one does, and realized how challenging that was going to be in the Bay. And so I started scheming on how I was going to get back to the Midwest and, hopefully Ohio or even better, Columbus. And for a while, I thought, okay, well, I really like this company. I really like this job. So I'm going to stay here as long as I can until I can't take it anymore. And then I'll give that up to move back to Ohio. And I'll just have to find some job I don't really like. And that's what you do for family. I'll sacrifice. So when HQ2 discussions started happening and I saw the chance to kind of sneak Columbus in there and let the city sell itself, it was like a best of both worlds. And the sort of thing that I, 2 years later, still get excited about. And on the hard days when things break and go wrong, I still have to pinch myself a little bit that like, I get to live in Columbus and work for Upstart. Like those are two things I really care a lot about, but never thought I would actually get to do at the same time.
That's so cool. Well, before we get into Upstart, give us the facts. How many kids you got?
Two kids. I've got a 3.5-year-old and a 7-month-old.
Oh my God! So your home is nutso. All right.
Yeah.
What was your first job? What was your first paying job?
First paying job was a telemarketer when I was in high school. I sold credit card protection, and got to see just how many opportunities to improve the financial system there actually are out there, I guess.
Oh, so you cut your teeth being a telemarketer, and you realize I don't want to do this for a living.
No, certainly not. Sales was it was a good experience to question some assumptions and build a little bit of extroversion and figure out who I was at that point. But yeah, it's pretty brutal being hung up on hundreds of times every day, and that's the best case scenario. They hang up, otherwise they can be rude.
Character.
One of my first jobs, Grant, was I sold telemarket for sponsorship for PBS for TV, and I got hung up a lot. So, yeah. So, what's your favorite genre of music?
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of a '90s hip hop guy if I had to choose one. I'm very much a believer in kind of choosing music that fits the task. So I've got like one set of music for running, one for driving, one for working, and so on. So I keep my playlist pretty distinct, but my default would be 90s hip hop probably.
90s. So like what would be a favorite artist and song for 90s hip hop?
Yeah, I guess the one I come back to the most would be Tupac. I think like just all of Tupac. Like I don't know that he ever put
Nice.
out a bad album.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, again, next time I get on a Zoom with you, I'm gonna have walk-on music of Tupac before you
Sounds
come
good.
on. All right. So tell us a little bit, kind of like, tell us like what's your kernel, and tell us like what it about Upstart, like what's the origin story and what problem does it solve?
Yeah. So Upstart's a leading AI lending platform that partners with banks. And essentially the problem that we are trying to solve is the fact that only 48% of Americans have access to prime credit. So think of prime credit as, not payday loans, things at too high of an interest rate. So there's 48% of folks who have access to prime credit, but 80% of them have never defaulted on a credit product. So you got this gap between, roughly speaking, 48% of people have access to credit, 80% deserve access to credit by some metric. We think that's a really big gap. Credit, while maybe not being like glamorous or sexy or whatever, is just fundamental and transformational. And so bridging that gap, extending access to credit is sort of core to our mission. And it just so happens that access or that gap is not evenly or uniformly distributed. It's sort of the folks who have the most trouble accessing credit have gotten the short end of the stick elsewhere and stuff. And so it's an important problem to solve, and it's one that we are making good progress on, but still plenty of work left to do. My specific role, I've sort of got this strange hybrid role, and I was super excited to hear about Huckleberry and some of their stuff going on there with Bill, because I think that makes one other person that I know of that has this like split between technical role, so VP of machine learning, so kind of leading our machine learning AI models here in Columbus, and hiring people smarter than myself to build models better than the ones I built in the early days, and making sure everything, project management, et cetera, gets done. And then, so that probably takes up 70% of my time. And then the other 30% is head of office stuff. And, that first meeting with Ben, where I was kind of had the deer in headlights look, and honestly had no idea what this meant. It's kind of all this random stuff that doesn't fall into any other team's, clearly defined area. So that could be talking to the press, talking to politicians. It could be making sure that our catered lunches are on schedule and everyone likes them, that the ceiling's not leaking, things like that. Like, of course, there's a team that does all the hard work. And again, lucky to hire people much better than me that make me look good, but kind of that's what falls under my, area of responsibility, and kind of split my time in between those two worlds.
Fantastic. So that's cool. So let me get this straight. So Aware helps folks who should get credit.
Upstart.
Oh my God. I'm not even drinking.
Aware is something different.
That might be the issue.
All right. Upstart helps solve the problem of getting folks credit that should be getting credit, and using AI to make, to help better risk decisions with banks. Yeah.
So our mission is to enable effortless credit through true risk. And so the true risk part being, too many traditional financial institutions have historically treated credit risk or underwriting as kind of a solved problem, and relied on some of these traditional scores or scorecard based approaches. So we've kind of come along and said, we're going to use modern machine learning and artificial intelligence to make smarter decisions here. And it's common, in fintech these days to go down one of two paths, either to become a bank, i.e. like try to replace them, or to partner with them. And we've very much chosen the latter and tried to partner with banks and offer the technology and take advantage of their sort of access to capital and customer base and so on, and really try to make banks better at what they do.
Gotcha. All right. Thanks for clarifying that. So what's happening with Upstart then in Columbus, right? It's a great story. So tell us a story here.
Yeah. So we opened our doors January 28th of 2019, I think, was the exact day that like the first 2 employees started. So we were able to pull this guy on the machine learning team. He'd been an intern for us out in California, but the cost of living was too much. So first call I made when I heard we were getting HQ2 was to Don, said, hey, you got to come to Columbus, Ohio. And so he and our IT guy, Chris, were the first 2 to start. January 2019. So we did the co-working thing. We were in a co-working space on High Street from, let's call it February to sometime in the summer. I've got this, I see Grace on the call. We've got this great picture of our recruiting team carrying boxes down High Street from one co-working space to our second co-working space. The second co-working space was a floor below what became our permanent office. So we then had to move again around late 2019, Thanksgiving, let's call it, moved up a floor, had a grand opening ceremony. And that morning we were actually out looking for more office space because our grand opening, we had already like kind of filled things to the brim. So then COVID hit and kind of like put all of our plans on pause for a while. So during that period of time, we've expanded within the building again. So we took over a few more floors within the 7-Eleven North High Street building. That's kind of the latest that's been publicly announced there is the expansion from 15,000 square feet to I think 45,000, sorry, no, 55,000 total.
Wow.
And I think the latest numbers that we've publicly tossed out are crossing the 250 headcount mark and planning to double, in the pretty near future. I think is what we agreed with Jobs Ohio. So a ton of growth, I guess, is the point of that very long-winded story. Lots of moves, lots of employees being hired.
And by the way, you did an IPO, right?
Yeah.
In 6 months ago? Was it 6 months ago? Was it that long ago?
Yeah, what was it? December. It was the middle of December that we did an IPO. So that was as corny as it sounds, one of my like childhood dreams was always to go ring the bell in New York. So we didn't get to do that. We did it virtually, but it was a lot of fun. There was a ton of excitement and it was just a really cool experience that in some ways was better because it was virtual, because everyone kind of got to experience it. Like everyone in the company got to experience it on equal footing as Zoom meetings tend to do.
That's cool. And then I saw someplace like I'm looking at CNBC. I'm like, Upstart stock price is like doubling or tripling. Like, that's insane.
It's been wild. There's this this saying, was it Benjamin Graham maybe, that like in the short term the stock market's a voting machine, and in the long term it's a weighing machine. So honestly, we try not to get too caught up in day-to-day or even month-to-month market moves, because that's out of our control and
Sure.
not always the sort of thing that maps directly to business, and can sometimes be a distraction to folks. But we're pretty confident, like some of that is just a recognition of all the past effort and work that went in, and the sweat, blood, tears, all that went into the 7 or 8 years before that. But if we keep executing and keep building, then in the long term, the like value of the company as sort of indicated by the market and in reality must kind of align there. So we're focused on building, improving, hiring, and so on. And it's kind of cool that we get to that Dave, our CEO, gets to go on CNBC and talk to Jim Cramer every once in a while. So I'm not gonna lie and say I don't get caught up in that hype a little bit as well, but like the official policy is definitely like, hey, tune it out. We have jobs to do. Like, that's on the side.
Yeah, that is cool, and I'll leave this. But for those of you that follow market caps, I think I'm looking at it right now. It's 10.3 billion as of today. So nice work with that. So that's a golf clap, because that's like 10x unicorn, right? And we care about unicorns here in town.
So Grant, going through with this massive growth period, as we are winding down, hopefully, with all the COVID, where the job market in Central Ohio IT is beginning to tick down to that 0% unemployment again, because we are Central Ohio, right? It is IT. Are you finding your people everywhere? Are you finding your people here? Has it been a mix?
Yeah, it's been a mix. So we've mostly been located in the Columbus and the Bay Area offices, with a few remote teams within like our software engineering and DevOps functions as well. So trying to, we found a ton of people here in Columbus in Central Ohio. Now with the pandemic going on, we sort of provided some flexibility there in terms of like when folks move to the office and doing some creative stuff that I think we just announced last week about trying to get the best of both worlds in terms of kind of a hybrid approach where we'll come into the office, everyone will come in 3 days a week. And then the expectation will kind of be that folks work remotely 2 days a week. Kind of keeping those muscles that we've built in terms of, there are a lot of benefits that we've seen in terms of like productivity, collaboration, and so on during these remote times. So we're trying to preserve some of that while giving the people what they want, saying like, hey, let's get back to the office. Like this is virtual, but you can imagine like it looks just as nice in our actual office. The catered lunches, the snacks, the great people, all the stuff that makes it a joy to work here. Like, let's go back and have that as soon as possible.
And you do have a beautiful office. So for those of you who have just jumped on, please turn on your video because we want to see your smiling faces and not just names. So with that, Grant, so what would be 3 words that, if I were to ask for some of your team members, would describe what it's like to work at Upstart?
The two pieces that I hear discussed or remarked about most often, and they often like either of these, I guess, is easy enough to find, but it's the combination that I think makes things so special, is the combination of humility and just like intelligence or technical savvy, whatever that may mean for the given team. And so what I mean by that is just like, we have a team and the individuals on those teams or in the office that are simultaneously just great people to be around, very humble and open to making mistakes and learning and not getting too wrapped up in ego, and being like, amazingly smart. And I, it sounds a little cliche, like you hear this a bit, but I'm like incredibly grateful I got in when I did. I'm not sure I would pass the interview process today or that any team would want me. And it's because we really have both hired people that are just like brilliant and blow me away, whether it's, on the machine learning team or on the recruiting team. Like I see Grace here, like just, filling up our offices with all these great engineers and folks. And so the competency matters something different on each team, but across the board, the folks are just like amazing. And that doesn't come with a bunch of ego. And it's very easy, honestly, for me to sit here and tell you this today. But when we're looking at a roadmap or trying to do planning in the early days, and it's, well, we have 10 things here we need to do. We can do 3 of them today. Here comes a brilliant jerk. Do we want to hire him or her? It's really hard to say no to that. And honestly, like, it wasn't clear that was the right decision when we said no to them early on, but like with the benefit of hindsight and seeing it play out, like it's clearly been hands down the right decision.
Fantastic. All right. So I'm going to switch to Mark now, Grant. And for those of you who just joined us, please put your questions in the chat window. And in about 15, 20 minutes, we'll open up to Q&A. So before you forget your questions, just put them in the chat and we'll start picking them out. All right. So let's go. Where's Mark Harris? All right. Mark, give us the skinny, man. Where'd you grow up? Tell us, what's on your when you got to get hyped up, what's your hype up music?
When you're on the bike.
When you're on the bike, what's your hype music that you love to listen to, and what sports team do you follow?
Okay, so I'll try and give you the whole thing in a nutshell. Actually, Grant and I have a very similar background, except that he's maybe at least a decade shifted from me. I also graduated. It's okay. It's fine. We're right here. Actually, before I move on, Grant, I do want to say one of the smartest moves you made was pulling in the best recruiter in Columbus and getting Grace at her. Absolutely. Grace and I worked together at CMM. She hired everybody that was there, and I'm going to do my best to see if I can't get her from Upstart when we need to. So
challenge is on.
That's right. Gauntlet is thrown down, buddy.
Grace is nice to be wanted, huh?
All right, so I graduated Ohio State in the mid 90s and was lucky enough to get hired by Microsoft straight out of school, out of undergrad. I went out there for 12 years, worked on the Windows engineering team, did some really neat stuff, ended up leading the release of Windows XP Service Pack 2, led the release of Windows Server 2003 R2, got to work on Internet Explorer 7. Please don't pick on me, it wasn't my fault. And then we wanted to move back to Columbus, and the same kind of thing. I actually did pitch to Bill that we start a Microsoft office in Columbus. It didn't go well. So it wasn't there yet, right? We weren't there yet. I actually wonder now. Anyway, so I was able to transfer though to the sales organization where I got to do some technical sales. I did that for a couple of years, got to know a ton of great people here in Columbus. And then I left Microsoft in 2010. I've kind of been doing a bunch of different roles around town since then. Among them, I was lucky enough to work with Grace and some other, and Warner and some others on the call at Cover My Meds as we were growing that into the first big unicorn here in Columbus. And then went and moved to Fuse by Cardinal Health for a couple of years. And then now I'm at Aware. I got the opportunity to be a CTO here and help build out this tech team and get us scaled and going. Oh, wow. And you asked about music. All right.
Yeah.
So on my iPod, having gone to high school in the 80s, you might imagine that if you follow the Goldbergs, I listened to pretty much the same music that Barry Goldberg and his buddies listened to. I got quite a bit. I got some Whitesnake on there. I got some Bon Jovi, those all that genre. But more recently, I've gotten, I'd say like since 2010, you'll find some Pink on my list. I was lucky enough to get to see her perform live when I was working with Microsoft. She's an incredible live performer, fantastic. So I get her stuff just as worth that. And I've noticed that music is kind of coming back around to the 80s. So, Killers and Muse and those kind of bands. I got a lot of that on my thing. And on the bike, if I want to get pumped up, I listen to Resistance by Muse. Love that one. It's a great bicycling song.
Oh, I've never heard that. I'm gonna have to listen to that. So we got Tupac and we got Muse, and then we got we're gonna create the boomerangs of Central Ohio technology, folks who were here, went out west for a decade and came back, right? All right, so we should entitle this the Boomerang episode.
There you go. That's a legit recruiting strategy. It works very well.
Yeah, Steve, we screwed up. We should call this the
Boomerang episode.
Yeah.
Ben, you left and came. No, you just came. You didn't leave and came back.
I'm like a bad penny. I don't leave.
Just keep turning up.
I just keep turning up. So Mark, what was the first job you ever had? Outside of Microsoft? Outside of Microsoft.
Yeah. The first paying job I ever
First paying job you ever had?
I was a lifeguard. I went to high school in Bucyrus in Central Ohio, North Central Ohio, about an hour north of here. Mm-hmm. And we had a city pool like everybody does, right? And I was able to, I was on swim team, I'm a pretty good swimmer. And so they paid the grand total of, I think, maybe $235 an hour for the summer. And I got to get a tan and hang out with my friends and make sure no one drowned. It was awesome.
That sounds like a pretty damn good first
job. Pretty cushy. I kind of recommend it for everybody.
Like my first job I was a prep cook at a seafood restaurant. It sucked.
No, that's terrible.
That was a terrible. My mom made me like take off my clothes outside the house because I stunk so bad before I came.
My mom made me put on clothes before I came in the house.
Oh.
Boom, boom.
McDonald's in Thousand Oaks, 1980. Giving away my years there.
All right. Hey, before I forget, everyone put your first job in chat because I think it's just amazing as hell. All right. So while everyone's putting in their first job, so Mark, you're now CTO at Aware. What the heck does a CTO do?
I've only been there a month. I'm trying to figure it out. I'll tell you when I get there. No, I'll tell you. So we just raised a Series B, maybe end of last year.
Okay.
And so with that Series B came the promise to scale the organization. And so my job as CTO is to do exactly that. I think we've done a fantastic job and set some really great foundation, both technically and company-wise, company process-wise. The guys have done a great job. But it's okay. Let's pour some gasoline on this fire. Let's get going. And so that's my role: bring in great people, make sure that everybody has what they need to get, to be successful. Make sure the organization's, kind of working well together.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get to work with some of our customers that have technical questions, and it's more at a higher level, like strategic kind of level with some of our partners as well.
Yeah. Well, you had a pretty good gig. Like, you were at Diffuse and Cardinal and doing some pretty cool stuff there in healthcare. Like, what made you jump? Like,
well, first off, let me say, Fuse is and was a fantastic place to work.
Yeah, it's a great place.
It's a great place to work. I love my colleagues there. Big shout out to anyone who's watching today or listening in the future. It was all great, all wonderful. So I left under great terms, and great place to be. It just, when this opportunity came across, and I saw what Aware had become, I think the opportunity to be part of that and be part of growing and scaling it was just too good to say no to. A couple years ago, actually, Ben, you had arranged, when I was at Cover My Meds, we had an event. Mm-hmm. We brought in a bunch of startups, kind of getting the cool kids together for a little while. So it was CMM, and I think Bold Penguin was there, and I think Root was there, and Aware came. And I got to meet the guys and talk to them. And even back then, I thought, what a great idea for a product. This could be game changing. This is really, really interesting. And good luck. I hope you can make it happen. And then a couple years later, when the opportunity came up to be part of that, and I saw how far it had gotten, I thought, oh man, okay, time to go.
God, so tell us what does Aware do? What problem do you solve?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Aware is probably I think the best software company you've never heard of here in Columbus. Certainly one of the coolest software solutions you never heard of. It's a high-tech product. We sell to some of the biggest brands in the country. And when I told people I was going to Aware, they're like, huh, what? So Aware solves a number of problems, but among them, the first one, and probably the one it's most known for, is governance, risk, and compliance for chat platforms. So think like Slack, Teams, Facebook Workplace, Yammer, these kind of things. So those applications, just like email, you're going to need to do, if you ever have to do a data hold, or you've got to do some sort of search into, you've got like a legal discovery going on, some sort of e-discovery, or you just want to keep track of sentiment and health of the organization. You today, or before we started the company, you didn't really have a lot of options there. Now with Aware, you can, an HR professional, a bigger professional at a corporation that's using those tools can have legal discovery on your chats, for example. Sounds kind of niche when I say it like that, but here's the big vision. This is what got me very excited about it, right? This is what got me excited. Once you have that stream of information, the analysis you can do on what's coming through is fantastic. So imagine, as we've all started working from home, Slack and Teams and Facebook for Workplace and Zoom and all of these have become kind of the virtual water cooler. And, if you're in the office together, the manager can kind of keep the tabs on the virtual water cooler, kind of see what's going on. What are people talking about? How are my messages landing? If you're not, you got some issues. And so this gives us an opportunity to tap into that virtual water cooler, come up with themes and trending. And think about, if you're a CEO at a large company, oftentimes they'll make huge investments in change management for the organization. Like, hey, we need to bring the whole company left. We're going left. And they don't know really how that message is landing or how that change is happening for months, right? Because it all gets filtered up through managers, and it's just, You know how we act in corporations. But if you could tap into the virtual water cooler like you can with Aware, they can find out immediately, how well is this trending? Are people really getting what I'm saying? Where do I need to adjust my messaging? Oh, did I make a mistake and forget about a group? Like, you know, all of this information, you know, really helps with change management, with messaging, corporate communications. I mean, I think that's the really, really cool part.
So
You
it
know,
helps.
there's just a lot you can do.
So it helps sort of leaders get a pulse on what's going on through all the chats and sort of the asynchronous ways people Slacks and all those kind of platforms. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, too, a lot of what we're talking about today, like what's super popular right now, or not popular, well, what's going on society-wise, right? Like diversity and inclusion, and there's a lot of you know, inclusion in the workplace and what's happening. So we can, you know, we elevate those voices. We help the folks in an organization who want to be heard. We help them be heard. That's what's going on with Aware.
Oh, I like that.
And that's why I think it's so cool.
That's
I should have started with that.
You should have started with that. Yeah, we let voices who should be heard get heard.
Well, that's the key right there, Mark. How do you? Because sometimes the loudest voices, especially in an online community, are that of the trolls. How do you filter out the negativity, if you will, to get the real sentiment that brings the conversation forward?
Well, I won't give away the whole secret sauce, but we've got some really great AI models that can help to measure not just sentiment, right, which would give you sort of positive, negative sentiment of what's going on, but also health or toxicity of the speech in a particular channel or in a particular team or in a particular piece of the organization. And so the combination of those, sentiment and toxicity, you can use that to kind of filter out the trolls, if you will. That's or cool. Identify like, oh gosh, this team is having some challenges. Let's go talk to them. Right now, once you know you've got something going on, you can go grab them and say, hey, let's chat. What's happening?
Got it.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mark, it is super cool.
Who are some like your customers that you can say? If you can say,
yeah. We have some big ones. The ones on the website are Starbucks. Chevron is another customer. You know, one of the things I love about Aware actually is getting the opportunity to work with those big customers. And we have some great partners. I mean, obviously we're partnered with Facebook, Workplace by Facebook. So we integrate with that. We're partnered really closely with Slack, doing some work with them. We're working with Microsoft. We've had other folks reach out. So we're very excited about the partnerships and the big logos that we sell to. I cut myself off. One of the things I really like is our business model. It's pretty straightforward. We make some software that has value. We sell it to people who need that value. Like it takes me 30 seconds to explain that. I love it.
So this is kind of cool. Like I didn't realize Boomerang, AI.
Yeah, man.
Is like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Mark, I'm sorry, Ben.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
I'm going to ask you a question that is not politically incorrect. It's because it's going to make you feel really uncomfortable. That's all.
I can count on you to ask the indelicate questions, Steve.
Yeah, and this is what I do. For those of you that we talked about first jobs, I used to be a waiter, so I know exactly when to ask a question when somebody's chewing. It's great at lunch meetings. So for Mark, although you said some really great things about Fuse, and it's a great shop, and you said some really great things about Cardinal, and that's a great organization. There's no doubt about that. How much better does it feel to be driving the bus in a smaller organization as compared to being, you know, a gear in the wheel of a huge organization?
You know, it's funny, Steve. Comparing the two, I mean, obviously, you know, large companies have concerns that large companies have, and small companies don't necessarily have those same concerns. And some of it's really good, and some of it's like, geez, why don't we have that? So I think it's really just about pluses and minuses, honestly. Moving at Fuse, I had a great manager, gave me a lot of latitude. We were able to do a lot of really neat things, and so I didn't feel so many of the greater corporate shackles, if you will. I think that you're implying. And at Aware, I'll tell you, it's, as my dad would say, Katie, bar the door. Like, let's just go. We're just making things happen. Go, 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 go.
That's got to be a great
So,
feeling.
it is pretty neat. It is pretty neat, I have to admit.
So, Mark, I asked this to Grant. What are 3 words that describe the culture at Aware? Why should people want to work there?
Actually, I'm glad you asked. So, I would give three sort of phrases, if you will. We're ready to scale. We're poised for growth. We have no ego. This is one of the places that Grant mentioned it too, right? And I chuckled because I had actually wrote that down earlier in preparation for this conversation. A lot of places you go and work and they say like, we don't have an ego, no big deal. We're fine. This is legit, no ego. Like I've come in and I'm asking indelicate questions of the folks who were there before me about our architecture and about our processes and about where we're going. And there's never any defensiveness. Like, hey, buddy, why are you asking a question? They're just like, hey, here's the answer. Like, I don't know what to tell you, but this is what it is. And it's been awesome. It's been fantastic to join a company with just very little to zero ego. I mean, it's almost a negative ego. And then, growth and scale. So, we're poised to grow the organization, the company, the organization, that we're also poised to scale the infrastructure. And I think folks who are looking for an opportunity to work on a microservices, event-driven, full cloud solution that is going to scale. I won't say internet scale. I will, why not? Internet scale. Come join us. That's the kind of opportunity you're going to get.
That's cool. All right, so we are now at 4:48. Folks, start putting your questions in for Mark and Grant in the chat. Steve, if you would be so kind to pick questions out, and let's start asking some fun questions. And this is like one of my most favorite parts. So,
all right, so we have got. We're going to wait some questions coming in right now.
Okay.
How about this? Do you want to just do the poll real quick as people are typing their answers in?
Yeah, go ahead.
And then we can come back and do the questions?
Yeah.
Does that work for you?
Yeah, all right. Steve's going to do a quick poll and then we're going to get the questions. But
real
put your
quick
questions
poll, everybody. Here we go. We're launching our polling. We're asking 3 questions. And because we think so highly of you, we're going to ask these questions to the CIO forum as well on Wednesday. But you guys can see the polls. It takes about a minute to get everybody's votes counted in here. But we're going to ask about doing some events. Of course, Ben cares a lot about doing some events and seeing all of your fine faces in person, which would be beautiful personally. We are about 60% of the votes have been tabulated right now. We will be pushing these out to everybody. And here we go. Okay. So there you can see it on your screen. Roundtable discussions, some now, some in Q3, some in Q4. Pretty interesting. In-person CIO tomorrow, the no at only 4%. We have a friend of ours, Catherine Allhouse, who's going to be very happy about that answer. And then IT events in person this summer. Again, no at only 4% is makes Ben and Steve very happy on something like that one. So great stuff. Thanks, everybody. Let's go ahead and see the questions in the poll. You guys put some questions in the chat here.
Everyone's being shy. I don't see any questions. I got lots of questions, but I don't want to take up all the airspace here.
Well, then I think, oh, here we go. So thank you, Jason. Outstanding. This one goes to Grant. Grant?
Yeah. So the
growing
question,
at such a fast rate during COVID. Let's talk about that a little bit. How did Upstart approach it?
Yeah. So I think of it in a few phases. So there was definitely a it feels like a lifetime ago, but last March, there was a scramble to get everyone working remotely. For some teams, this was easier than others. Software engineers may be more used to this, our operations teams less so. So in the initial phase, there was kind of just a scramble to figure out our policies, our procedures, our security. A number of teams, IT, DevOps, I see JD on the call as well, a lot of people had to do a lot of hard work to get us in a place where we could go fully remote. And I think this probably took us on the order of 2 weeks to 3 or 4 to tie up all the loose ends. And I really think this would have been 3 to 6 months at a bigger company. And it just really highlighted why you need to hire such good people is so that when it hits the fan and you've got to kind of scramble and figure stuff out, that you don't need as much central planning or policies and procedures that anticipate every possible outcome. And you can just kind of let people build them. So in the early days, there was a scramble to get everyone remote, honestly, with an eye to okay, we'll do this for a little bit of time, but how long can this pandemic thing last anyway? Fast forward, after we kind of went through the initial downturn and it became clear that business was going pretty well and the consumer credit market wasn't going to just fall off a cliff, then it was, how do we hire people? I really think that the Columbus office, having been the other office in its early days and kind of being separate from HQ when it was 10 or 15 of us, we've really built up some muscles there about how to operate just outside of kind of the central in-person location. And so, we were able to scale up pretty quickly, continue to find good people. I mean, technology helps a lot there in terms of LinkedIn and all those sorts of things in terms of bringing people in. Training was definitely a challenge, whereas how can we keep people safe, but get them their company provided laptop and security setup and things like that. And we're finally transitioning now to the phase where it's time to start this good problem to have that I've been joking about with the office management team for a while, and now is actually a real problem that I'm now losing sleep over, which is we've hired more than half of our team members since we all went remote. How do we get all these people back in the office together? People don't they've met over Slack maybe with people they work directly with, but there's going to be this new kid at school, but everybody's the new kid at school. How do we budget enough time for events? And honestly, something that I'm hopeful because I finally get to start thinking about it. It's the light at the end of the tunnel is there, but still work in progress to make us gel again.
How to create a culture is going to be a challenge there.
That is a interesting statistics. Over half the people have been hired have not actually met each other.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Wow. And have you been hiring primarily folks that live in Columbus, or are you finding you're hiring folks everywhere now?
Yeah, so we've been hiring folks kind of all over. So folks who are expected to show up to either the Columbus or the California office, we're kind of told, okay, you'll be expected to show up once things get back to normal. In the meantime, stay where you are. So that allowed us to cast a wider net. Now, as we're normally doing, when we run experiments like this, we learned some stuff and said, oh, actually, we want to be more remote friendly. So we've been spinning up a number of remote sub teams based on things we'd learned there. So I don't think this is actually something we would have considered but for the pandemic, but it's we can really function well with remote squads on some teams. And so kind of constantly evolving thinking there.
Got it. Thank you. And we got a question from Kavitha. I'm always curious how much hands-on a CIO, CTO is. Mark, Grant, any comments on that? Do you guys touch keyboards?
I can talk to that a little bit. So yes, I do touch keyboards, not at this company, but more as a hobby on my own, mostly just so that I can stay aware enough, no pun intended, to understand what my team is doing. So there's for example, actually Ben mentioned the Can't Stop Columbus website. I worked with a small team and built that. So I do some things. I can code. I do understand code. I understand large systems, and I do ask questions of my team to help them, help get to the right answers. But honestly, it's not my job, and I'm not going to outcode my team. I hire the people on the team to do the code and to do it really well. And it's It's not my job to outthink them. It's my job to help them come to the right decisions.
Got it. How about you, Grant? You still got hands on keyboard?
Really similar answer to Mark, where yeah, I try to do it just so I don't lose the team's respect. In the early days, I viewed it as like carving out, every Friday afternoon, every other week or so, and it was like let me step down and do this work that like maybe on paper would be like not necessarily the best fit. Now it's like, let me find the stuff that's not too important because I'm going to slow the team down because I'm getting much worse than them. So it's out of like personal interest and maintaining credibility with the team. Yeah.
Nice. So there's a question from Lucas. Mark, how are you thinking about evolving your product beyond where it's at today? And then we'll let Grant answer that as well. Where's the product going?
Yeah, great question. So we have one of the best product managers I've had the opportunity to work with in Matt Pasternak. He's got a great vision for the product and where we're going with it. And the answer is where it's going. I think it was Lucas asked that question. The way it's going is leveraging AI and insights. It's more about insights as a service than it is about the GRC. So I think the governance, risk, and compliance functions of the system are kind of the bread and butter, and we need to do those well. It gives us the right then to go into and provide insights into HR insights, insights about the organization, as I mentioned before, trending, sentiment, toxicity, connectedness. So think about, in every organization, there's the formal org chart, right? That's the one you see on the wall or in your Visio diagrams. But then there's the informal org chart, which is the one where the actual work gets done. It's the people who know each other. It's, it's that the guy in purchasing used to work with the gal in accounting, and when he needs something done, he can call her directly rather than having to go to her boss and up around the org chart. We can help map that out so that the leaders of the organization understand really how the company gets work done and make sure that they can, provide and make sure that those folks have what they need to be successful. So that's kind of where we're taking. That's part of the vision.
Gotcha. How about you, Grant? Where's your product going?
Yeah, so we kind of cut our teeth on the personal loan product. This is kind of a niche product, mostly used to pay off credit cards. It's online unsecured debt. We realized it became pretty clear there was something special to our approach, and it wasn't specific to this one sort of sub-market of consumer credit. So very recently, like last 6 months, we launched an auto refinance product. Super near and dear to my heart because in addition to like helping the team build the machine learning models, the sort of operations, engineering, all that stuff was 95% done in Columbus. So as the like head of office, it was kind of a growing up from supporting the other office and helping them out to here's this thing we built and we're kind of running with. So I think the short answer is more products. Now the time frame is TBD, but there's nothing specific to personal loans or auto refinance loans about the approach. It's kind of the building the team, the data advantage, and those learnings that allow us to expand. And then once we run out of products, we'll have to figure out another way to grow. But I don't think that'll be a problem we have anytime soon. It's a huge consumer credit market out there.
This is fantastic. This has been fabulous. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed sort of talking to two boomerangs who decided to keep plying their craft here and building things in good old Columbus, Ohio.
Finest city in America, Ben.
Finest city in America, and I just can't wait till everyone can actually get back together. So. Is there anyone that has an announcement they need to make and tell someone something good about what else is going on in town? No? Okay. So
I have a position that I need somebody who's awesome to join my team.
Victoria, tell us where you work.
I am working at Nice and Contact. And I can actually have a half an hour just talking about it and how amazing it is. It's not a startup, it's part of a really big organization, but it's just a hidden gem. and I would love to just talk about it.
Well, we got another about 30 seconds. So tell
Okay.
us what the role is that you're hiring
Tell us the
for.
role that you're hiring
Awesome.
for.
So the role is on the project. We are working on getting our monolith architecture split into microservices. The specific role is with the architectural, closely related to the architectural redesign of the monolith infrastructure and put in and scale in it. So anybody with the experience with the cloud, we are working with Go, and it's a Microsoft world. So anything with that, with those skills, who has experience in implementing the scalable, reliable solutions on the infrastructure side, would be a great fit. We are very agile, we are very adaptive, and I'm an awesome manager to work for. So
That's a nice plug there. And not only does Nice in Contact have Victoria there, but they've also got Ray Bohack runs that shop, and he's awesome. He came out of Tech Columbus back in the old days. It's a hell of a shop. And you know what, Victoria, maybe there's some people here that might know something about cloud every now and then. I know we've been on the phone with a couple of so.
All right. So with that, Grant, what can we do to help Upstart? Anything we can do to help you guys?
Funnel people to our jobs page. I think, as you're aware, been like 50 plus open positions on the website. That's probably it's probably ones that we forgot to put on there. They get lost in the shuffle. Doing a ton of hiring, ton of growing, ton of exciting stuff going on, and yeah, keep up stuff like this. Like, I mean, there's a reason we chose Columbus, and like events like this in this community that you're helping to build are a big part of it. So thanks. Keep going.
All right. Thank you. Mark, what can we do to help Aware?
I'll echo a little what Grant said. I think the Columbus community, we've got something really special going on here. And so, like, having lived elsewhere, Seattle, we didn't have this in Seattle. I think Grant will say he didn't have this in California. As much like we kind of like out here, we hold hands and sing Kumbaya together, and that just doesn't happen on the coast. It's fantastic. Tell your friends about us. Join us. Come see us. Come see Aware. Tell your friends about Aware. Reach out direct, come be part of it. We have job opportunities as well. The more I can help me build that brand story, help me get the word out about the great tech that we're putting together and the great company that we've built, and that'll help a lot.
Perfect. All right, folks. Well, the formal part of this conversation is over. If you all need to bug out. If you want to chit chat the next couple of minutes, because I'm going to chill out and we're going to talk whatever, hang out. See you. Mr.
Thanks,
Pat.
everybody.
Thank you so
Outstanding.
much.
Grant, Mark, great conversation.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you guys coming on the show.
Yeah, Mark and Grant, have you guys, Grant, are you a bike rider?
Yeah, a bit. I biked to work out there in the Bay, and then
Okay.
Catherine Reynolds got me into Pelotonia, and we did it as a team. So I've been slacking off a little bit during the pandemic, but yeah.
All right, because you know Mark's a big biker, and you know I'm waiting for the Aware team to show up, and then we got the Upstart team showing up. It's
Yeah.
great to see.
We're
these
building
groups. We're building it.
Have you got a team at Covale now, Ben?
No, I do the Pan Ohio thing every year, and
Right.
and I've got the team with my guys at T-Cetra and Vaco because they're fun, and I couldn't do another team because they'd kill me, and you know, and I need people to actually pull me because I can't really ride that fast anymore, so I need fast people in front of you.
T-Cetra's growing again. They're opening up a second facility.
Yeah, T-Cetra's in helping to bank on folks who unbank folks who are normally unbanked, and they're growing to they got 160 people. They're growing like crazy too. The amount of sort of fintech stuff is crazy in town. I remember so funny, a couple of HQ2s came in, like Klarna has been here for a while, right? Klarna is they went silent for a little bit, and they're blowing up now in different places. So Klarna is doing well. Viva Viva is another sort of HQ2 here, right? Viva came in
Mhm.
like 3 years ago, and they're blowing up right now.
I think they're up to 200 employees already.
Yeah, I think it's over that now.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what this gene therapy and the Andelin stuff is going to do, because that is like something so far of, I don't really understand it, but I think it's wicked cool, and the impact on humanity is going to be ridiculous, right? I mean,
Yeah.
oh, it's crazy what they can do with that. But
Yeah,
so,
we can do healthcare IT, fintech,
yeah,
enterprise IT. I think all of those things are right in the Midwest wheelhouse, and we can just knock that out. Now,
yeah,
I'm not sure the next Google or the next Facebook would come out of here just because of financing, but not yet. I mean,
not
give us
yet.
20 years, 30 years, maybe.
Yeah, and then robotics is starting to really
Yeah.
do some interesting things here. And like Pittsburgh is blowing up as a robotics center, but we've got two robotics companies here with Path Robotics and Ready Robotics that are starting to blow up. We had a show about a week ago with we had Ben Kelly on, who graduated with a master's at Ohio State in mechanical engineering. He worked for SpaceX, and he is in Alaska right now building launch as a service for rocket ships, and he just got acquired. So like,
that's awesome.
It is the amount of cool people coming out of Columbus, Ohio, doing really interesting things. Like when he told me, yeah, we're getting acquired, we're doing launch as a service for rockets.
With
really?
The number of smart people in this town and the number of insurance companies in this town, why wouldn't we be the national leader in InsurTech? Right?
Oh, we are.
Yeah,
we just need to. We already are. We just need to tell people that.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Not only do we collaborate, we're humble. It's especially all of us.
Well, I love the new. Have you seen the new Jobs Ohio posters?
Oh,
like,
fantastic! I love that campaign.
That campaign's hilarious.
I love that campaign.
So for those of you who have not seen it, Jobs Ohio is putting billboards like in Seattle and San Francisco, just doing a little smack talk, like with funny sayings, why you should be in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, like a billboard on the highway. If you were in Columbus, you'd be home by now.
Oh, there we go.
That kind of thing. It's fantastic.
It's fantastic, but yeah, it's cool. But yeah. This is cool. Well, this is
great,
fun.
Ben. Thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity to tell our story and get things going with Aware.
Dude, you two are going to be like on the Boomerang poster I'm going to create, like the boomerangs of Columbus. Like, once a month we're just going to poster.
There you go.
Ben, we got one more boomerang here at Upstart. Alex Rouse, our VP of product, came back from Amazon, and then he was at Nationwide for a bit, and we got him over here. So we've got a couple more boomerangs hiding in the metaphorical office. You know what?
We're gonna do a boomerang show.
That's Steve, a great idea.
We're gonna do a boomerang show and we get Jobs Ohio to film it, and here's real life story of why folks need to come back.
That's what you should do. That's a fantastic idea.
We're just gonna do.
You can put my tiny little condo next to my house in Upper Arlington, and just like put the Zillow posters up there, and this is what a yard looks like.
Like, Grant, what was that like for you? Like, you had this 1,000 square foot apartment or whatever you had in San Francisco, and then you're like, Upper Arlington, I have half acre. This is nice.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like, I mean, I just had to temper my wife's expectations. She'd been looking at Bay Area real estate, and I was like, honey, like, just because we would have spent that in the Bay doesn't mean that's what we spend in Arlington. It's just responsible. So we kind of met in the middle there, and yeah, but that is one of the standard responses of all. We would do travel back in normal times, and everyone visiting from the Bay we'd have them over for dinner or whatever, and they would just, what, you have a second floor? Like there are more rooms, and it's unbelievable.
And a basement. Whoa, they don't have those in California.
Finished, nonetheless.
Yeah, that's it.
And you can ride your bike to work.
Yeah, for me, that was the thing. Grant, I don't know if you had this, but in Seattle, you just plan your life around traffic. And so it'd be like, oh, it's 4 o'clock. I guess I'm not going anywhere for a while. You know, oh well.
Yeah. Yeah, I would go into the office some days at I would do like a 6 a.m. to like 2 p.m. schedule just to get around traffic. And it wasn't even that light of traffic at 6 a.m. and just like, yeah.
Right.
It would still suck.
I was working in Costa Mesa, but living in San Clemente, which is 32 miles to be fair. But the first 6 miles on a Friday leaving at 5:30 would take you an hour 45. The first 6 miles. And then after that, you're doing freeway speed. I mean, like regular freeway speed. And that's one of the things that drove me out of California is I can't waste the hours of my life doing this. So
that's actually been one of the really neat things about work from home for me, I think. So Grant, you were talking about you guys are coming back hybrid, like 2-3, 3-2, something like this. I don't know if that's going to be, I mean, it'll probably work for you guys, but for a lot of companies, we've been practicing for 1.5 years now with work from home, and people have zero commute, like they do the bunny slipper commute from the kitchen to their office. I don't know how I get my engineers to give that up. You know, and we actually have been hiring around the country. So a lot of my engineers are, never going to, we have people in Austin, we have folks in Denver, we have folks in California. Like
that's what I'm hearing.
We're just going to always be remote.
That's what I'm hearing. A lot of folks like, a lot of folks aren't going to give this up, and you in businesses have to sort of embrace that, right? I mean, you can't have a free for all, but you've got to just acknowledge that ship has sailed.
Right. The challenge is making the office be somewhere that people want to come to, and they can be productive in when they do. So, I mean, we do have folks on the, on the team who maybe have young children, and it's just not a real conducive place to be at home. They'd rather, get daycare or a babysitter and come into the office. Okay, cool. But guess what? Even when you're in the office, you're going to be on Zoom because your coworkers are going to be remote. So
yeah, I think that's going to be the thing. Cause like once everyone got on Zoom, it became okay. Right.
Yeah.
Once you start having this sort of this hybrid thing, it's going to create some funky dynamics of like conversations that aren't on Zoom. And it's there's going to be some awkwardness for a while.
Warner got off the phone, but
go ahead, Mark.
One of the cool things we did at Cover My Meds, we had a remote workplace from day one. They just designed the workplace to be remote, but we also had office. I mean, clearly there's a ton of people in that office in Miranova. There were in that giant building they're building down off the peninsula. But one of the things we did was we brought all the remotes in once a quarter for a full week.
Okay.
It was kind of expensive, but it wasn't as expensive as having them in the office all the time or not having them on it. There's an opportunity cost of not having them. So what was great was you could have the remote experience, bring them all in. And it was like, I don't say a party, but I would always tell my engineers, like, just schedule time. I don't care if you write code this week. I want you to get face to face with all the people that you talk with on a regular basis. So that next time you ping them on email or Slack or something, they put a face to the name. You're not some just nameless, whatever.
Yeah.
And it worked out really, really well. I think that is one way
that's a great idea.
Do the hybrid thing.
That's a great idea. I'm gonna see if I can collect some thoughts and hints from folks around this, because there are a couple of folks struggling.
I've got some fear on that, Mark. Is we've grown 20% during COVID, our staffing, right? And we have this really outstanding corporate culture. It really is. I mean, it's not blowing smoke. And now a couple times you get the new guy on the Zoom and they're not really in the culture. And trying to teach somebody culture over Zoom is a lot tougher. And I don't want our culture to change. So you're right, bringing people in, I think that's a really good idea. Now we did it twice a year. We bring everyone into Pittsburgh, everybody, right? But we obviously got away from that the last 1.5 years. I sure hope we start bringing that back.
Someone had asked the question, what was it like to start as a CTO? Like, I'm one of those people that got hired and has never seen all the people face to face, right? I'm one of your 50%, Grant. And someone asked the question, what was it like starting in the leadership role like that? And it's tough. I had to be really intentional about, I set up one-to-ones over Zoom with everybody on the team, with my peers, with my peers' direct reports. And we're not that big a company. I can meet with the whole company if I want to. But also I go in at least once a week to the office and just work from the office, even though I'm remote, just to get a sense for the culture, right? Because at our office, we have a culture deck. They actually started the company with a culture deck. It's one of the things that attracted me to the company.
That's smart.
Neat.
It is smart. And so that, the things from the culture deck are on the walls and they're all around. We talk about it. It's part of introduction to it's part of new employee orientation. And then just, there is something different about when you're just around each other all day and you can look up and go, hey, Greg, blah, blah, blah. Like, it is different versus being more intentional with Zoom, very scheduled with Zoom.
Yeah.
But that's been helpful to me to just go in and get to know folks. It's been tough, but we're making it work.
Good. Hey, folks,
Hey,
I got to
Ben.
bug out. I got to roll.
Yeah,
So,
I got to roll. As you can see,
He's the
I'm in
meeting
the
host.
office.
Party's over.
So I just want to say thank you, Grant. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Bindu, for hanging out and being part of today. We'll talk to you later.
Take care.
Take care, everybody.